got Firewatch. Wake up. You got Firewatch.
This is Pacho. Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me? Over.
Pacho, this is Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah!
Get some. Hurrah! What's going on, everybody? Baby Friday is upon us. Friday night's Eve, as I also like to call it, but god damn, it's almost the weekend. Yo, we got an amazing show tonight, just like we always do about this time. But I got an amazing guest. I've been bugging this dude for many, many years, and I was finally able to get him on the show. But before we get into all the details and bring him on board, let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. Hey, this show is brought to you by Primerica. Let me ask you this. If there was a vehicle where you can maximize your investments and get you from point A all the way to point B, and where you're hitting, for my veterans here, where you're hitting black on paper and maximize your contributions as far as investing goes and retirements, then the folks at Primerica can definitely help you out and get you going on your investment goals and doing your due diligence, so that way later on you're not a financial burden on your kids, because all the things that you've done and implemented earlier in time will be there for you as you get older. So give the folks in Primerica a call. They'll take care of you. They'll give you at the end of the day, if I am 100% sure that you like what they'll tell you. But if you don't, you'll get some really great education and you'll walk away with knowledge, which knowledge has no price on it. Okay. And also, we're now sponsored by the VA. So guess what? Here's an awesome message by Mike Richmond.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Veteran service organizations, often known as VSOs, offer many services for veterans, service members, dependents, and survivors. Whether it's holding job fairs, finding solutions to challenges such as homelessness, healthcare, or financial issues, or educating veterans on federal, state, county, and local benefits, VSOs are a great resource for veterans. VSOs also offer veterans a place to socialize with other veterans for peer support. Plus, for help filing a claim or appeal, you may want to work with an accredited lawyer, a claims agent, or a VSO. VA trusts these professionals because they're certified in VA claim and appeal processes. To learn more, go to va.gov and search for VSOs.
Hey, this is by far all the PSAs that we've posted on this show have all been fantastic, but by far this is one of the best. And I'm going to tell you why. There is no freaking reason why anybody here at all should be paying somebody to help you get your claims. Okay? I repeat, you should not be paying anybody to help you get your claims and benefits. Okay? There's a lot of so-called veteran-friendly organizations out there, and that ran by veterans that basically are out to scam you. And the VA has, as well as Cal Veteran Affairs, have done an immense campaign to get this word out that do not participate on that. Go on va.gov, find an approved VSO. These are lawyers as well as other individuals that have been vetted and approved by the VA for you to work with them. They're not out to screw you or take the benefits that you rated and deserve. So don't do it. Don't be a PFC going out to going out to Ocean going to buy a freaking car at 29% APR. Don't be a dumbass. Go on the VA website. If you got any questions, hit me up right here. I will be more than glad to point you in the right direction. All right. Thanks, Angel. Welcome to the show. Another one of our faithful followers over here. All right. With that being said, look, everybody, the Constitution is one of the great things that we support and love in this show. So with that being said, if you like what you hear, like, subscribe, and follow. If not, then that's fine. Perhaps check out something from situator.com. And shout out to Brian and the rest of the team for pushing the buttons and making this show happen. So, hey, if you think you'd be one of me doing a podcast, definitely they can take good care of you. Shit, I can't even get a word out today because I'm so fucking excited. Anyways, hey, that's it for all the pleasantries, everybody. Hey, let me get Mr. Major Khalil. I've known this kid, this guy for many, many years now. Ahmed Khalil. He's a major in the Marine Corps now. He's got an amazing story. Let's bring him on board, everybody. Let's give him a big welcome and a big shout out. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. Those of you that are on the East Coast, happy to be here. Pacho, thanks for having me. Thanks for all the great things you guys are doing for our service members and getting the word out there.
Hey, man, this is like, like we briefly talked when we reconnected. This kind of started out as like, hey, you know what? This is kind of for me, so to speak. However, it's kind of morphed into a little bit more where sharing information based on my the things that have happened to me, as well as connecting services for service members. So it's been a pretty cool ride, and that now that that you and I have reconnected, hopefully. This is kind of like the gentle push to hear more about your story, but on paper. But before we even I'm getting all ahead of myself. Let's just do whenever jarhead meets each other, it's like, hey man, I know you. I think I've seen you somewhere. So what unit? Tell us about what units you've been with. When did you come in? And go from there.
Yeah, my name is Ahmed Khalil. So. I'm currently serving as a company commander in Victor 2-1 as HNS company commander. I initially got to the unit as a logistics officer, and then got promoted there, and then moved down to HNS company command. So I was born and raised in Baghdad, Iraq, as you know. I started working for the United States military shortly after OIF in 2003. So I lived and worked on U.S. bases for about 7 years throughout Iraq. Really started volunteering, translating here and there in FOBs and the local schools around the house as a 15-year-old kid, driving around in a bicycle, just kind of with just like small talk and whatnot. And then I started getting more involved and starting to go out with them and whatnot. And then later on,
no. Sorry, didn't mean to.
Yeah,
since we kind of jumped into your story, how did you get connected? I know you were looking. Did you see service members, kind of rolling by, and at the time, were your linguistic skills, were you able to communicate to some degree? Tell us a little bit about that, because I mean, like I said, you have a freaking amazing story, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for keeping me on target. So I spoke decent English when I was by the age of 12.
Wow.
Education was important in my family. I was born and raised in Baghdad City, mid-class family. We didn't have a lot of money, but school was important. So my dad spoke 4 languages, including English and Arabic. Study abroad. So that was like his thing was, you can do whatever you choose to do in life, but I want you to go to school and do that. So at the age of 12, I was a kid, but I always had interest in learning the language. One day, immigrating and whatnot, and just kind of creating a better future for myself and my future family. So in 2003, I think the statue fell in April 9th, if I'm exact. And then shortly after, on or about August, is when I started working. It really started just me. So there are like local hospitals and schools, which a lot of the service members in the beginning, 1st Marine Divisions were used as FOBs.
All right.
So, just started communicating with them, chatting up and whatnot. And then we developed some good friendships and relationships. And then shortly after for that, it kind of evolved into something bigger than I thought it would be. And then I wanted to kind of get involved, be that link and the connection between the community and the service members out there, try to help as much as I could. Just kind of just being out there and at the point of friction and being able to talk and communicate. Some folks spoke English, but not a lot of people where I grew up did. So that's kind of how it started.
And how was it for you? Because a lot of times, when I have some guests, I not to compare my situation, because I grew up in a country in Colombia where in a time for was kind of things were very volatile for many different reasons, and not to get into that. However, but how was it from your perspective as a kid growing up, and obviously, under a very tight knit regime, and not tight knit, but very tight on the control of under this regime, and then, I mean, you're basically that world completely crumbles and changes, with the fall of Saddam Hussein, and then here your country finds itself in this holy shit the situation with Americans coming in. I mean, how was that for you, bro?
Yeah, it was a weird time, and as a lot to process for a kid, right?
Right.
Luckily for me, I've had a nurturing father who allowed us the level of freedom and responsibility at the same time to like kind of do well, be a hard worker, understand the meaning of hard work, and then at the same time, giving us the opportunity to get involved and do the things that we're passionate about. So when I explained to him eventually that, hey, this is something I'm passionate about, I'm having a good time and whatnot, he was kind of skeptical at first, because I'm sending my kid out potentially getting blown up or getting shot at. You go out and on patrols and stuff like that.
Right.
Eventually, and my family had a lot of resistance with that, just kind of for the sake of my safety and worried about that.
100%.
But I'm stubborn, so that didn't last for long. Also, like it's really, the situation was so unstable, or like there were a lot of unknowns, as during that time, whether if it's the regime or all the other groups that kind of showed up post 2003, and there's a lot of instability and there's a lot of unknowns. So really, whether you do this or not, that was kind of my going in, is like, it's unsafe here, whether I do this or don't. Maybe I'm facing more harm, or it's more dangerous to do the things that I'm doing, but I'm happy and content with what I'm doing. And I remember very well, because we've had this stern talk, and his rule, number one rule is, all right, you're still under the umbrella of this family, and if you do choose to go that route and work at that age, at 15, you're gonna have to do well at school. And the minimum requirement is that you finish your bachelor's. Well, you do well in high school, you can work, you can provide for yourself, and you can learn that responsibility, but stay safe and do well at school. So that was kind of that's how it started. And I stayed at school. I throughout my employment up until, so I left Iraq in 2010, which I'll get into, but I graduated college in 2009 with a bachelor's.
Wow, that's amazing, dude. And how was it, just right quick, how was it for this 15-year-old kid, being associated and going out on patrols, wearing battle rattle? I mean, me being a kid and kind of like so driven, and like I would have been like, holy fuck, like, hey, this is pretty it could be dangerous, but this is pretty freaking cool,
Yeah, I think it's the excitement. I think when you're at that age, you probably think you're invincible.
Yeah, I bet.
So it's not that I haven't been exposed to this environment.
Right.
I mean, I was born during war in the 80s, and then kind of lived through that, and then lived through sanctions and a bunch of other things. And then 2003 during the shaping operations and everything else. So yeah, like part of it, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. There are times where you're like, all right, this is dangerous. This is it. But for the most part, at that age, you think you're invincible, and you're excited, and you're living the moment. And it's also like at that age, like you move from being responsible for yourself, and now you're thinking big picture. All right, I'm contributing. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. We're building schools. We're doing all these things. I just helped the family not get shot because I was able to communicate. So it is rewarding, and it may not be as evident. Like when you're at that age, you may not see it,
Right.
but in
Yeah.
retrospect, as you look at it, you're like, wow, I can't believe I've done that, and I can't believe this was a great opportunity, and I'm glad I've done it because I've gained and I've grown a lot doing that.
Being able to look at it, now we can look back, when we're kind of tallying up that stick of life, and you're putting you're counting the notches that you've carved on it. At that age, I don't think any of us, very few, have that capacity or to be able to look in that broad spectrum. So, so I mean, I think it's great. I mean, and you should be proud of everything that you've done. So you're doing all this. You graduate school. At what point did you transition? Leaving your home country, everything that you've known, and now you're coming to the U.S. And was your thought process, hey, I'm gonna go to the U.S. I'm gonna be a fucking Marine? I mean, was that it, or walk us through a little bit through that?
Yeah, partially. So, fast forward, I continued to do that for 7 years, and I found myself. So for the majority of the time, I ended up living and working on U.S. bases, various U.S. bases. And then I was going on and off base to like go to schools. I skipped a lot of the optional classes that I had to go to, and then kind of maintained the minimum attendance. And that was at the time the right thing to do, because my commute or going back and forth could put my family in danger, which they ended up facing some of that ultimately, but luckily they're all safe and they all made it.
Thank God.
But yeah, fast forward, I continue to do that. When I finished school, I've always had in the back of my head, to answer your question, like maybe not. So like I've worked with the Joint Force as a whole. I worked with DoD, Department of State, and I'd say I worked a lot more with the Army than the Marine Corps. But my first impression,
no shit.
The first impression of my interaction with service members was United States Marines. And not to take anything away from my brothers and sisters in the Army, I've developed some great friendships and relationships, and there are some folks in the Army that have mentored me throughout my life, and I am very grateful for that. But there's Go Army right there.
Yeah, that's Angel.
Yeah, there's as you continue to look, you develop this impression, and subconsciously you're not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about it, to be honest. And I was thinking, all right, I would like to immigrate to the States at some point, and I would like to become a United States citizen, and I would like to go serve in the military and do my time of service. To me, in my mind, all right, this is how I earn my citizenship in my transition to become a United States citizen and whatnot. So that was in the back of my head. In late 2009 is when things slowed down. The focus at the time kind of slightly shifted to Afghanistan. So there was the downsize and whatnot in Iraq, and at that point, I thought that was the right time. I finished school. I've done about 7 years doing the translation / DoD contracting for the majority of the time. So there was a lot of mentors. An Army mentor of mine who actually is the one who I'm grateful forever, who helped me immigrate to the United States. He's like, hey, like, we need to get you out of here. As I continued to work for over the course of 7 years, the situation was up and down in Iraq. But at that point, we've worked on projects and things that were out there, some high profile projects, so, I was well known out there, doing the things that I do. So the concern for me mostly was my family. I got used to that lifestyle. I got used to the danger and all the things that are associated with that job, which I completely signed up for.
Right.
So he's like, hey, let's work on your special immigrant program. So for those of you who don't know, the special immigrant program visa is a program that was enacted in 2003, and it allows people who had provided faithful service to the U.S. military in Iraq and Afghanistan specifically, and are under serious threat to immigrate to the States, and it was mostly an expedited process. So I've done that and immigrated, and I came to the States in January of 2010.
That's awesome.
So the person that helped me and mentored me through all that and actually helped me with the paperwork, his name is Felipe Moon, retired Army, prior enlisted, retired as a major. He was a Ranger, and then transitioned shortly before he retired to civil affairs. He helped me through all that, and I came and like, hey, I don't have anybody out here. He lived in upstate New York, so that was where I went. I went to upstate New York. He was stationed up in Fort Drum, in Watertown, New York, and I went up there. At that point, I've known his family. I've known his wife and kids. Like we've developed this very strong connection. I've worked with him throughout 2 of his deployments, one of which was in the Triangle of Death. So we gotten pretty close. So I went and settled in Watertown. Well, not settled. I stayed in his house for a couple weeks. And at that point, I told him, hey, like I appreciate all of this, but that's not what I want to do. I want to go talk to recruiters and see kind of what opportunities I have. So
and that's where you find yourself. Clearly, it sounds like you did the vetting process.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, let's go. So like we get in his car and we drove to Syracuse, and I went and talked to each one of the recruiters. I talked to Army, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard, and I talked to the Marine Corps. We didn't have a Space Force back then. And, recruiters do the recruiter thing. They offered me all the options and all the possibilities and the benefits and things like that. Some recruiters capitalize, hey, like we can make you a translator, an interpreter. We can get you like in this and this and this. And, the one recruiter, and this is to go back to your first question about like, how did I end up in the Marine Corps and not the Army? The one recruiter that didn't care about any of that, he's like, hey man, like, all right, obviously you're qualified and all these things. And I don't have any bonuses for you. I don't have any of that stuff. I know you got a degree, but you haven't naturalized yet. I wasn't a citizen at the point. I was a permanent resident.
Right.
So I could enlist. I could enlist, but I can't go commission.
Right. Same here.
He's like, yeah, you can go E2 in the Marine Corps, and then instead of bonus, you get the opportunity to earn the title and be a United States Marine. I was like, okay. So like and I'm thinking the drive is about an hour away, an hour and a half. During the drive, the whole time I'm thinking, I like, holy shit. All right. This guy is squared away. I think he's still in the Marine Corps. So he's like, yeah, this is it, and this, you take it or leave it.
Yeah, as a former recruiter myself, is when I say, hey, look here, little Johnny, at the end of the day, do you want to be a Marine? All that shit aside, yes or no? No, I would literally walk him next door, because if they were looking for a job and whatever,
He's like,
I'm
yeah,
hey, dude.
there's the Army kid next door. Let's go talk to him and whatnot. And I was like, wow.
Or do you want to be a man, and do you want to be a Marine? I was like,
Yeah,
oh shit,
So I was sold, and that's how it started. Yeah.
First of all, we're not car salesmen. They're Angel.
I was sold on the idea.
Hey, a Marine is a Marine. Don't hate, but appreciate.
Yeah.
So I remember that because for time's sakes, I remember that I got, and by the way, let me tell you all, everybody, is that, and I'm gonna pump him. I call him kid because he's clearly way much younger than I am, but I remember this young, outstanding individual. I walked into 11th Marines at S1, and this kid was, this man, I guess, he was there all squared away. Picture board. If you saw the dude, from the poster, Marine Corps, whatever. This dude right here is it. In my own opinion, and he made a really good impression. He told me, we kind of we had like this relationship where we used to talk all the time, and I was mesmerized by your story. So, moving time forward, clearly you got your citizenship. At what point did you say, hey, you know what? Now it's time to pull trigger. I'm going to do the officer program.
Yeah. Yeah. So like Chief Warrant Officer Korea at the time, and others, like I've met some. I was really, and I continue to be grateful for that. I think the one thing that I really love about the Marine Corps is how personable people are. If people see potential and opportunity, and they will pursue you, and they will talk to you about these opportunities.
Yeah, of course.
Some of which you know nothing about. So the Chief Warrant Officer Korea, there are many other names at 11th Marines, which most of which I continue to talk to. My first 11th Marines was the first unit I went to and I reported to as a PFC, and it was great. At the time I always knew. So like as soon as I got to the fleet and I got the first opportunity I got, I applied for citizenship. So naturalized, did all the paperwork and the things, and went and took the test and did all that, studied for the test. And then once naturalized, at that point, I knew I wanted to continue to serve early on in my career. I wanted to continue to serve and stay in the Marine Corps. For me, I wanted to make an impact, and I wanted to influence things, and I wanted to be able to lead and make decisions. And I understood quickly in the Marine Corps that obviously if you want to do that, you still have to do well to be competitive, because those programs are extremely competitive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I have to start figuring out what it's going to take for me to do that. And that involves a lot of aspects, whether if it's the physical aspect, the academics, the things that you got to prep for to be competitive for those programs. So I did. And this is kind of the mentality I've had, and I think it helped me, it served me well throughout my career. Is that, and I tell that to a lot of Marines, and to them it might seem cliche at the time when I say it to them, but I have found out that nothing in what we do is impossible to achieve. It is just that you have to put in the work. So if you want to do more pull-ups, go get in front of the pull-up bar and do more pull-ups. And if you're consistent about it, guess what? You're going to ace the physical fitness test.
Yeah, of course.
If you're not fast runner, I was not a fast runner. So coming off of my civilian life as a contractor, I was not that. But for as I applied for the Marine Corps and knew what is it going to take, I started, I changed my diet. I worked out twice a day, and then I got to sub 18s runtime. But the point that I'm trying to get across is, yes, it is hard to join the Marine Corps. It is hard to stay Marine. But if you're consistent and you do the things that you need to work on, you identify your shortcomings and you work on them, you're going to get there. And that's just a fact.
Yeah. Would you tallying up your entire life, I guess, and given some of the challenges that were presented to you, what would you tell your younger self? And I guess the last question is, would you do it all over again?
100%. I would do it all over again. I don't know. The difficult question is like, what would you tell yourself? And I don't know to answer that, because yeah, I could probably be the wiser person that I am today, and just like all the things that I've learned from, and tell myself not to do that. But I didn't have the experience. So you are the person you are because of the things you've learned throughout your life and or career. The mistakes you make, there's nothing wrong with making a mistake, but understanding how to not make the same mistake again, and how to be resilient and how to move on is the one thing that will set you apart from your peers.
What do you tell when you're talking to a Marine, maybe be struggling in whatever shape or form, to what I guess what part of you do you share with them to kind of relate and basically say, hey, look, there's adversities, whatever. I mean, what tools do you use to kind of get them to comprehend or get them out of that rut and such, now that you're a leader of Marines making a huge impact on their lives?
Yeah. I mean, I tried, sure. I've had hardships in life, and
yeah, of course,
but so as many,
right.
The kid that's living in a bad neighborhood here in the United States might have had it worse than I have. I don't know, because I don't know everybody's story. Every person have their own story. But what I will say, when I do talk to my Marines and I am trying to give an advice to somebody, I try to not to make it about me. I try to make it about the mentality of, hey, there's always somebody somewhere that doesn't have the opportunities that you have today. The fact that you're wearing this uniform, you're way ahead of your peers and the folks that are in your age group. The opportunities there. It's the question is, how much are you willing and how much effort are you willing to put forward to get to where you want to get to, and having a long-term plan and having goals that are like having an objective plan with goals to get to your destination. That's
amazing, bro. Man, we definitely we're kind of running short of time. I definitely want to bring you back, and we can dive just that much deeper. Again, you got an amazing story, and now that you're in this position, I think a lot of people needs to hear these. These are life lessons coming from somebody else, that to get from point A to point B. There's struggles and adversities, but that's what gives us resilience and keeps us going every day. Khalil, where can people find you if they want to interact with you and just ask you questions, maybe use you as a mentor and a point of reference?
Yeah, I mean, you can email me, my first dot last name. You can email me at my USMC. I'm up at Horno at 21. I'm happy to talk, happy to chat whenever. I'm really grateful. I'm grateful to be on the show. I've always told Pacho is that, even back in the day, Chief Warrant Officer Korea, when he comes up and talks to me about all these things, like, hey man, you should write a book. And Lance Corporal at the time, looking at him like, you know what, like, I'm not that important. And I still feel the same. I'm just grateful. Like, I've never thought of myself being where I'm at today. And the fact that I am here talking to you today about my experience is just amazing. But I'm really grateful to be part of the show and interacting with you and other Marines and service members.
Thanks so much, Ahmed. Hey, by the way, everybody, if you wanna, he's also on LinkedIn. He's on there all the time, just like Dan Whitley and everybody else that's been on this show. Ahmed, thanks so much for your time, brother. We'll definitely bring you back because I do want to. In the amount of time that we have in this show, we try to get. I try to hit a little bit of everything, but we'll definitely bring you back. So thanks so much for your service. Keep doing what you're doing. You're freaking amazing. You're killing it, bro. So with that being said, hoorah, semper fi. Stick around for after the show. You and I will say proper goodbyes, brother.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Hey, that was an amazing show. I mean, we didn't even scratch the surface. I mean, this Ahmed, he's got an amazing story. I mean, the kid he was always driven. I mean, she was always shit hot. I mean, literally, he was one of the water walkers at the unit. I'm not making this stuff up. I mean, the man's resume speaks all for itself. So if you want to interact with him, you want to use him as a sounding board, you want to use somebody as an example, there's your example. So make sure you hit him up on LinkedIn. If you've been ruminating about anything and everything, you've had a shitty day, shitty week, like this guy has for this week, hey, talk to a buddy, talk to a friend. If you're going into that dark hole, that dark path, call somebody, call TRICARE, Military One Source, VA Suicide Hotline. Call somebody, just don't be a fucking statistic. Because at the end of the day, well, there's a lot of challenges out there to promote and raise awareness about suicide, veteran suicide. It's not going to bring you back. So please reach out. If you haven't heard from a friend, do a buddy check on them, and then start the chain. And that's your homework for the weekend. So with that being said, everybody, I think we're going to end X over here. So hoorah, get some Ice Tomas, Daisuki. See you next week, everybody. Yat!